welcome to Artful Measures. This is a channel that's all about finding relief from symptoms you may be suffering from following your traumatic brain injury through creativity and creative play. Because creativity was so incredibly helpful for me and effective following my traumatic brain injury, I want to share with you some ways to access your creativity today. And I'm also going to talk about the inner critic, which is that judgmental voice inside many of our heads that can inhibit creativity. And I'm going to give you some specific ways to move past that and silence that voice so that you can enjoy your creativity and find all of the relief and benefits that it can offer for your life following a traumatic brain injury. Most, if not all, of the creative work I do isn't work. It's play. So I want you to think about play for a second. When you were a kid and you were playing with your siblings or your friends, did you have like a specific goal in mind or a result you were trying to achieve when you played? I bet you were just following your imagination wherever it led you, being in the moment, having fun, and not really worrying about where all of this was going. So that's the mindset that I want to encourage you to get into when you're accessing your creativity. That's where all of the therapeutic benefits of creativity come from, and it's also just way more fun. In fact, it's also a mindfulness practice, and mindfulness is a really valuable tool that we'll be talking about in upcoming videos. Okay, so now we're going to talk about that inner critic. Probably most of us have experienced this. When you go to write something or draw something or make anything, and you have this nagging voice in your head saying, that's not good enough. That line isn't straight. Who do you think you are trying to make something like that? That voice is only going to discourage you and inhibit all the wonderful things that can come out of your creativity when you're not being put down like that. So I'm going to offer now some suggestions for how to silence that voice so that you can get into the flow of your creativity and experience all the benefits of it. The first suggestion I'm going to make is that you create a safe space for your creative exploration. And this might just mean getting a notebook or a sketchbook or a journal or something like that, which you keep in a place where no one else is going to access it. And in that book, you are free to do anything. You are free to make a mess, make something ugly, and just express yourself in any way you need to and want to. You could consider it your creativity journal and just keep it someplace safe. And when you open that book, it's just this world of freedom to do anything and try anything and have no concern about the results. It's all about the process. Okay, so that's one, safe place. Number two sounds kind of silly, but that's what this is about. This suggestion is scribbling. So you could do this to start off a creative session, or this could be your creative session. You just get a piece of paper, scratch paper, or your creativity journal, and scribble. You might even use that to to express whatever emotion you might be feeling. It's actually really great thing to do if you're angry or frustrated. But even if you're just feeling excited or happy, you can scribble those feelings. It doesn't have to look like anything. It's more about even just the motion of scribbling as a way to express yourself. And the other thing about it is that your inner critic can't really say much about that. Scribbles aren't supposed to look like anything, and they're not supposed to look good, so there's nothing to judge. It's just scribbling. There's no way to do it wrong. Okay, so create a safe space, scribble. And the third suggestion is to draw something with your non-dominant hand. That means if you're left-handed, you'll be drawing with your right hand, and if you're right-handed, you'll draw with your left hand. And this bypasses the critic as well, because how can you expect yourself to draw something perfect with the wrong hand? Also, this is a cool exercise because it accesses, did I say that right? The non-dominant side of your brain. So if you're right-handed, the left side of your brain is dominant. It's the logical, verbal processing part of the brain. And if you're right-handed, the right side of your brain is the non-dominant side of your brain. And it's where creativity happens, and visual things, and spatial, and non-linear, and creativity. So it's all flipped for people who are left-handed. It's the opposite. And when you draw or write with your non-dominant hand, it is like a fast track to the non-dominant or creative part of your brain. And it also kind of accesses your subconscious, I believe, or unconscious, sometimes it's called. So really interesting things can come up when you write or draw with your non-dominant hand. But for our purposes, it's just another way to bypass the critic and get into your creative flow. You could draw anything. You could pretend you're a kid and draw a picture of your family in your house with stick figures and flowers and grass. Or you could draw your dog, or you could draw some fantasy world in your head, or you could draw a mug. So it doesn't matter, and it's not going to look like any drawing you've ever seen before. It's probably going to have its own special charm, and that's irrelevant anyway. The point is just to get into that creative space, free yourself of any inner judgments and criticisms, and play. Okay. The fourth one is kind of a summary. Challenge any inner judgments. So if you find that critic popping up and saying, "That's no good, that looks weird," or "Who do you think you are trying to make something?" You want to challenge those thoughts and remind yourself that there's no need to judge. Think about children. My nieces give me drawings sometimes. They're ages 3 and 5, and their drawings are just perfect. I'm never looking at their drawings thinking, "Oh, well, that should have been a little over to the left, and that line is really just crooked." Of course not. They're these perfect, precious little expressions of these perfect, precious, beautiful little people that I love. And I want you to think about your own work the same way. You are the child that you were still, and you are just as precious as any child in your life that you love. And any expression that you create is perfect. May be hard to swallow for some of us, depending on where we are in our journeys, but I'd really like you to consider that your drawings, your scribbles, your writings, your poems, your songs, your voice, every expression that comes out of you is absolutely perfect, and there's no need to judge it. Remember that this is about the process, and in this process you're going to find joy and freedom and self-love and, quite importantly, calm, comfort, relief, and a lot of satisfaction. So it's going to be an exciting journey. I'm really happy that you've tuned in and followed with me this far. Go get yourself a creativity journal, do some scribbling, maybe do some coloring, maybe like write some block letters and then color them. Just it doesn't matter. It's all good. It's all perfect. And in that space, I can't even describe to you how good that space is. It's changed my life.